So there's quite a lot of discussion about fireside chat this evening, whether it's going to be the last half hour of drive or is it going to be after drive. Well, to be completely honest with you guys, for now it is scheduled for the last half an hour of drive as per normal now, but if the lions are on the hunt, obviously it will be postponed till after drive. So the young male and the two sub-adults are still behind us. One adult female is still sitting there. The rest of the adult females are moving through, and they are fanning out like they are on the hunt. Just trying to see the fourth female. So we've got two in front here, one to the left, and then I know there's a fourth one. There she is, off to our right. So for those of you who are new, we are on a live lion hunt in the African bush, and here comes the fifth lioness now walking straight towards us, and I'm just going to stop while she moves past us. So as I was saying, we're on a live lion hunt, so you might, wherever you are in the world, you're sitting on the back of my game drive vehicle joining us on lions hunting at the moment in the Sabi Sands Game Reserve, South Africa, in particular on Djuma Private Game Reserve. We're with a pride of 8 lions who are not very hungry, but they could definitely eat. They haven't eaten in a day or two, would be my guess. And now this lioness is moving probably less than 4 feet from my legs. There she goes. Isn't this incredible? And now right behind Andrew is another lioness who's even closer to it, probably about 2 feet from him at the moment, just walking past his backside. And now this lioness in front of us has decided that this close to our vehicle is a very good place to lie down. And there we go. For those, I know a lot of you are worried, there she is, about whether the lions are affected by us, but as you can see, they take very little notice of us. There comes one of the sub-adult females who's right next to us now, behind us. So right next to Andrew, so close you actually can't see. It's going to pop out right there. So, guys, while the lions have stopped and are listening now quite intently, I know James has got something quite interesting. We're just going to cross over to him quickly, and if these lions make any sudden movements, don't worry, we'll be crossing straight back to us. So we're just going to cross over to them very, very quickly, and then we'll be back while these lions sort of decide where they're going to go. Some of them are lying down again.
Welcome back to Jiga, everyone. We've just come to this water hole to see what we could find. The breeding herd of buffalo seemed to be a slight misrepresentation. This is in fact a very large bachelor herd of bulls, but the picture was so pretty that we thought we'd show it to you anyway. They're all having their sort of evening drink before wandering off into the bush to graze. Very peaceful scene here. We also had a white-breasted cormorant, which is quite unusual for this area. And you can see, I was just discussing with Scott before you came across to us, how we often talk about bulls being on their own as old and no longer sort of able to move with the herd. And we were just saying that some of these bulls here look actually quite young in comparison with some of the older bulls we saw in the herd this morning. So there's also a hippo popping out of the water every so often. And there is. And so what we think is it's probably a far more fluid arrangement than we think it is. So if a herd comes through here, some of these bulls will join, and then some will stay behind when it moves off, especially if it's not as if there are no females in estrus, or there are much bigger bulls in the herd that are monopolizing mating opportunities. And this is probably a sort of boys' club. It's not necessarily an old boys' club, but it's an all-male, I want to say regiment, but not quite regiment, an all-male club of bulls of various ages that just hang around together for protection and to shoot the breeze, no doubt, as they lie here in the water, in the mud, grazing, drinking, and horsing about. There are a couple at the end of the dam there horsing about. If buffalo can be thought of as horsing about. Lovely picture. You can see how the light has changed now. It's gone all gold as the sun begins to set. Lots of cud chewing going on there. There's a tremendous sense of peace that I'm not sure you can pick up from where you're sitting. And I always get that sense of peace at the water in the evenings, especially when there are a few animals grazing. You heard those bulls making a noise there. Hello, Brittany Martin. I believe you're what you've described yourself as a newbie. I'm not sure if that's particularly flattering to you, but you're quite a new viewer. And you welcome. It's great to have you along, and I hope that we can inspire you to keep watching, even at the expense of whatever employment it is you have. You wanted to know about crocodiles and alligators in this area. First of all, there are no alligators in Africa. They're only found in the Americas, mainly in North America. And then there are sort of other similar species found down in the Amazon and in South America. But crocodiles, absolutely, we find here. Because this particular reserve, Djuma, doesn't have a flowing river going through it, crocodiles are more likely to be sort of transigent or nomadic species in the area. In the bigger dams, you might find them moving in and out. But in a dam like this, it's unlikely, but it's not impossible. And crocodiles will move huge distances at night, I mean up to 50 kilometers. So were you to come down here on a hot morning and think, well, I can't see any hippo, I'll just pop for a swim in here, you could find yourself in trouble very easily. There are plenty of crocodile in the Sand River, which is just over the ridge and down the other side of the Sabi Sands, or runs through the middle of the Sabi Sands. There are probably plenty of crocodiles in the Big Manyeleti Dam, which is not too far to the north of here, and even in one of the other big dams just north of us, there could be one or two crocodiles. So yes, they are definitely found. Not that much in sort of still water like this, but certainly not impossible. You always are safest to assume that there are crocodile in an area like this. Right, we're going to cross back to Brent now. We're actually also going to make our way down there. Remember, we're having our fireside chat today at 5:30, unless something astonishing happens. But we'll probably we'll see you there at 5:30, and we'd love you to join in, and we'll chat about the highlights of the week and speak to a few very special guests. Okay, so off to Brent and the lions.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, the lions are still moving in front of us. They haven't moved very far. We've only been able to move now because that lioness was lying so close to us, and she's just moved off a little bit. The others are just off to there. We are going to keep following them. Just a reminder tonight for the fireside chat as well, remember to send questions in for James. It'll be his first fireside chat, and also you can send them in now as well, so we can have them prepared, or you can send them in during the chat as normal. There's definitely something going on in this area with these lions. They've smelt or heard something. You can just see the behavior of these lionesses. Goodness, sometimes being downwind of lions is not ideal because of their high protein diet. They are quite flatulent, and it is really not a pleasant smell being downwind of a lion. Nice lights on here. I definitely think they've heard something. They're now splitting even more than they were earlier. Copy, just get him to call me on the Game Drive channel when he gets onto that link. Scott will know where it is, that goes through from Gallagher Shortcut. James coming. So there's definitely something going on. Even the sub-adults have changed their posture. They're not moving as freely as they were. They've changed direction again. The other lioness is splitting off completely. One has gone almost due north, and now the other is cutting south. Hi Reme, welcome on the Sunset Safari. Reme is asking, do I know what they've heard? Is it possibly buffalo nearby? Reme, I don't know. Obviously their hearing is far, far superior to mine. I have no idea what they've heard, but they are definitely interested in something. Oh, bless you. Hi, John from California. Welcome on the Sunset Safari. John would like to know what's the largest pride of lions I've ever seen. John, just hang on, John. Something's going on. I think that lion just disturbed a Franklin. Oh, and another lion disturbed a Franklin. Can you hear them alarm calling? They're churrum, churrum. Now that could affect the lion's hunting because it is notifying everything around that there is a possible predator. But John, to answer your question, the largest pride of lions I've seen in South Africa was that mega pride, which was in the Eastern Kruger National Park in a private concession there, and there were when I left there were about 40 lions in that pride, but the biggest pride of lions I've ever seen was in Kenya on the Masai Mara, and there were 53 lions in that pride. It's quite possible it was what happens with prides that size, they often spend quite a bit of time separate from each other and then will only join every now and then. James. So now they're even splitting further. Now it's sort of we pick an individual and follow that, or we'll try and keep the individuals right on view, both to the left and right. Otherwise it can become quite tricky if they do chase something to find them afterwards. And the fortunate thing about being in an area like this where we are now is that the animals are not scared of the vehicles. They have no negative connotations to the vehicles. So even if we happen to bump into a buffalo or something, the buffalo wouldn't associate us with lions. There we go, sure, they've moved quite far. And there's another lioness through there. Wow, okay. We're in the right spot. We've got lions to the left of us, lions to the right. And here I am, stuck in the middle with you. James has moved into the other side of this position, just checking where the lions were going. So we're going to cross over to James. He's got the lions coming towards him. You might not see us again till Fireside Chat because Andrew and I have to go set up. So we're going to cross over to James and he's going to stay with the lions. So good luck everyone. It's been wonderful and we'll see you just now.
Yeah, February, still using the other law.
Welcome back everyone to Djuma. I think you've just been with Brent. We haven't actually seen him, but we're close by, and the lion you can see in front of you is part of the same pride. They're very clearly on the hunt. You can see the way she's behaving. We did have some kudu just behind us, and I'm not sure, it's a mystery how they communicate in a situation like this. The others are off to the right-hand side of where you saw that lioness, and she's just walking through the bush there. I'm sure the rest are going to come up from this way, and there are some kudu there, and whether she's seen them or not, I'm not sure. Probably going to just nip forward and try and get a view of her. I don't want to go crashing in through here because I'm not sure where the others are. Make a big noise and potentially disturb what they're doing. I'm just going to find out from this side where the others are. Let's see a vehicle up there. Here we go. Let's flash through there. If you guys don't mind, we're just going to stand here and wait and see what comes out. I don't want to go thrashing through the bush here, just in case they are on the hunt. Brent, come back. Brent, come back. Okay, we're going to move now. Slightly up the road here, and if we don't get a view now, we'll start blasting towards them. Alright, I think the time has come for us to be a bit more proactive and try and get in there. Franklin's alarming. go in. There's a lion there in front of us. Lioness coming through here. You can hear the Franklin's alarm calling. There she goes. Same direction as the other one, but parallel. You hear the Franklins going. Sorry, Scott. No problem.
Coming back towards us, yeah?
You see it?
Yeah. She's coming towards us.
Let's stand by here. It'll just be so great if she comes out into the open here. There you can see her. Now, as soon as the Franklins start to alarm call, everything else in the area, like those kudu we were looking at, will immediately take note and look around and see. Two of them there. Ariane on Twitter would like to know the wind direction. It's coming from the front right-hand side of the car, so it's a northwesterly breeze, but it's very gentle. Certainly they are downwind of those kudu. There she is, coming up in front of us. So she's up on whatever she spotted. That's a beautiful sight. Thin stomach, golden light on her chest. Beautiful lioness, and look at the muscles in her shoulders as she moves. The white under her eyes, so easy to spot. Pretend you're a lioness on the hunt, and that's your mate, or you're a cub following your mother. Look how easily spottable that black tail is, and the black to the back of the ears, compared with how beautifully camouflaged the tawny is against the winter grass. There, the others are coming just across in front of her. The camera's giving you a slightly incorrect impression of how bright it is. It's not quite as bright as you're seeing it there, but certainly still quite light conditions for them to be hunting in. We can't get in front of her. More open area this on top of the crest, so we don't need to make too much noise. Gave us a good yawn there. You have a sub-adult coming up to join her. Another one off to the right-hand side there, quite far up, moving north. And north is to the right, my right. Another one in the distance there walking up. I'm going to get back onto the road and follow around. I think we might get a better view. It's gone. I'm going to drive a little bit quickly to get around the front here. Far away from that little link. Far. There's an ear in there. We might have to go in here. Front of us again. Playing now, some of them. And one lying down. Listen to that. Very quiet contact calls. Very deep. You can see those youngsters still trying to suckle and being told where to get off the bus. Here comes the young male. There goes the young male. lioness in front of us now, coming towards the other group. And what they will do now is, as they move into the night and into the hunt, they're not hunting seriously now. These little moments of social bonding will help them cohesion as they try and hunt. The young male, of course, is a tremendous advantage to them in this case, because he adds a bit of muscle to the pride, and if they want to take something big like a buffalo down, they're going to need his strength. And despite the immense power of the lionesses, the males are just that much bigger and therefore that much stronger. Like I think I've said before, you can see those tongues cleaning. That tongue would licked with that vigor up your arm would probably take the skin off. That's a wonderful sight. Butter wouldn't melt. We're going to stay with these lions probably for another 10 minutes and then probably leave them. The reason for that is that they are clearly going to try and hunt this evening, and I think that given how hungry they are, we're going to disturb their hunt with a spotlight, so we'll probably leave in about 10 minutes. Hillary on Twitter, thank you for your question and welcome to this spectacular evening sighting. It's not a question I haven't had before, and which is interesting. Can lions purr? And I think seeing them doing what they're doing there makes you think of them as kind of domestic cats, and so you search for links with your own pussycat at home. Lions can't purr. Lions and leopards and tigers and jaguar come from the genus Panthera, and one of the characteristics of that genus is a very ossified larynx, which means that the voice box is quite bony, and any sound that comes out of it tends to be a fairly throaty roar. I've heard cheetah purr before, but they're from a different genus. And so the smaller cats can probably all do it. I've heard a caracal, which is like a North American lynx. I've heard them purr. But I think a lion's larynx is just simply not designed for it. Tim in Arkansas, welcome. Lovely to have you with us. You'd like to know if lions can hunt, or if there's a preference for them to hunt in day or night. Unquestionably, they will prefer to hunt at night. They're 90% nocturnal animals. That's not to say that should the opportunity arise, they won't hunt during the day, but in this area, they will normally hunt at night time. In certain cases, they will specialize in daytime hunting. There's a place in Botswana Djuma plains, where they hunt buffalo almost exclusively. And there they just do it during the daytime. The buffalo are so numerous and the lions so used to it that they will hunt the buffalo during the daytime. That's a glorious shot. Wonderful how that autumn leaf is masked against the color of her face. Leslie in California, a question from you regarding, if I understand you correctly, the sort of sensitivities of driving around these lions while they're hunting, and comparing it with the noises that francolins make. Potential prey species will immediately associate an alarm call from a francolin with, which is exactly how I found that second lion from listening to that alarm call. Any prey species will associate that noise with a threat, with normally a cat threat, could be a bird or a snake, but in this case, obviously not the case. When we make a noise in the vehicles, and we do try and minimize it as much as possible, animals that are used to the vehicles, so be it the kudu we saw earlier or some of the nyala we saw earlier, they won't react in the same way to the sound of the vehicle the way that they would to an alarm call from something like a francolin. So our vehicle doesn't represent an alarm call, it represents a fairly normal sound for a lot of these animals. So what we're going to do now is, in order to give them the best chance to hunt, we're going to move on. They are quite close to our boundary, and there are other vehicles in the area, so I don't want to disturb them. So if it's all right with you, I think what they're going to do is probably lie here until it gets dark and then move off on the hunt. And so we're going to carry on from here. We've had an incredible afternoon out here, and I know that Brent spent a lot of time with them, with you. So we're going to move out slowly and make our way to the fireside chat, where we'd love to continue to interact with you and have your feedback and your questions. Okay. Alabama, you'd like to know why it is, if I understand you correctly, why it is that the females do most of the hunting. A very good question. It's not necessarily because the males are lazy. But you know, they've evolved different roles in lion society as evolutionary time has gone on. So, for example, the male's role is to protect the pride territory, or not the pride territory, but their own territory. And by doing that, they provide protection for the pride from marauding nomadic males. Here, just watch your head here, Scott. It's very important that separation of roles exists in the lion society. Otherwise, the pride structure wouldn't work the way it's supposed to, and their survival would be compromised. I hope that answers your question, Susan. line sighting. I'm just going to let you have a quick look at that beautiful shot that my artistic cameraman Scott has found. That's gorgeous. Beautifully, smoothly done. When I tried that the other night, I couldn't find the moon for half an hour. Right, well, I have to take a few lessons from Scott, I think. So we're on our way to the fireside where, with any luck, the exuberant Brent Leo Smith has lit the fire, poured the scotch, and made the place comfortable for us. We're on our way there now. If you have any specific questions you'd like to ask at the chat, please start sending them through now. Hashtag Safari Live, questions at WildEarthTV. We'll do our best to answer them, and if we can't, we'll make sure we find out in the interim. Fireside chat will start at about 5:30 our time. I'm not sure what time that is where you are, and in 7 minutes time, says Scott, and we'll go on for half an hour. We have some special guests from, I think it's Ohio, with us this evening, and so we'll introduce you to them when we get there. Some courageous young kids. So the sun has gone down, the African night is beginning, and the lions will no doubt be on the prowl fairly soon. I imagine for the herbivores it must always be something of a delight to see the next sunrise. I said earlier that the moon was at about 3/4. It's closer to 7/8, I think, at this point. So probably in about 4 nights' time we'll have a full moon. If any of you know the actual answer to that, you can tell me. I'm not particularly sure, but we're almost at full wax. Franklin on the road. his way to his roost for the night. They'll roost in trees. Only an insane bird would sleep on the floor at night, unless it was a bird that lived in a big clearing, like a plover. Lots of small predators that wander around at night, like civets, genets, African wildcats, which look almost like your domestic cats. Not the fancy breeds that you get, but a sort of standard issue tabby. On Twitter, welcome to the night. You want to know if cats mark their territories with glands that are distinct from urine. The answer is, as far as I'm aware, no. As far as I'm aware, it's mainly done with urine spraying, much like it is with your domestic cat. But then you get animals like genets or civets, which will normally mark with what we call an anal gland, which is a gland just around the tail end, and dogs often have an anal gland as well. Hyenas do, but as far as I know, and I might be wrong, the cats don't do that. Voila. Alright, very well. Good, yes, full of joy. Have you had a nice afternoon? Yes. Good. We've also had a nice afternoon, in case you're worried. See ya. Wonderful to have other guests sharing the reserve with us. Huge smiles. And we're now going to link across to Brent, who seems to have lit the fire, pulled the large scotches that Scott and I require, and he will take you through the beginnings of the fireside chat. Then we'll see you there just now. We're on our way there as we speak. Off you go to Brent.